Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Bon Voyage Besties, your favorite travel podcast featuring your two favorite Jersey girls, Rachel and Rosa. And today's episode is one you won't want to miss, especially if you're in the Northeast and dealt with all those horrible blizzards and you're just looking to get away and do an escape for a while. This episode is perfect for you. So we're thrilled to welcome our special guest, Julie Diebolt Price, a seasoned photographer, educator, and author with over 35 years of experience. That's really, really awesome. From corporate photography to ghostwriting, which sounds like my dream job, actually, Julie has done it all. And currently, she's sharing her knowledge to help aspiring photographers and business owners alike succeed in their trades. Plus, we're diving into her incredible 6-week journey through Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. So get ready for stories, insights, and plenty of travel inspiration because now that winter's coming to an end, I think we all sort of need it. So let's get into it. Welcome to the show, Julie. We're so happy to have you here.
Thanks, Rachel. I'm delighted to be here. I love talking about travel, and I haven't really shared enough yet about my recent trip to Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. So I'm delighted to be here.
We're really happy to have you here too. So before we talk about the trip specifically, would you like to share with our listeners a bit of your story, such as where your love of travel first came from?
Oh, my love of travel came from when our parents loaded up the car and when we were young, probably before teens, and we would drive as far as the time allowed. So our first trip from Michigan was to Nebraska. We had about a week, and so my dad loaded us in the car, headed out to Nebraska. We got as far as North Platte and then had to turn around and come home.
Wow.
So that that taught me from a very young age that I want to plan my trips a little bit better than just getting in the car and driving somewhere.
And then turning around and going home.
Yeah, without a real plan.
Yeah, that's really true. I'm thinking back to a time I was young. I was maybe like 13 or 14, and I grew up in southern New Jersey near Philadelphia, and I didn't really know much about the rest of the state. So we were driving on 295, and I asked my parents, "Where does this road end?" And they were like, "Oh, it ends in Princeton, New Jersey. Do you want to go?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I just thought that was like the coolest thing at the time. But same thing, it was only about maybe an hour and a half from our house. But then when it was time to turn around, I was like, I want to keep going. I want to see more.
Yeah. Um it's funny how early experiences really shape our future. And maybe that's why I am so fanatical about working out all the details and planning the details. If you know what your options are, if something goes wrong, it's not a total disaster. You know how you can recover. But if you don't have any idea of what your options are, it can become a nightmare.
For sure, for sure. Rosa and I had a recent episode that I actually just finished editing before starting this about when travel plans fall apart and how to fix them. And we definitely have some stories about that. So, planning is definitely essential to the success of any trip. And like you said, you wanted to plan your travels a little bit better than that road trip. So, a 6-week journey is no joke. That's a long time. I think my longest trip was 7.5 weeks. So, could you take us through the planning phase of this trip and how it eventually evolved until this full 6-week journey?
Sure, I'll be happy to. So it started with an organized tour with guides that I wanted to travel with for years. And I was prepared to go to Morocco by myself. I travel frequently solo because my husband doesn't like to travel as much as I do. So I invited him and he surprised me and said yes. But he did say, you never mentioned that you wanted to go to Morocco.
Surprise!
And I guess I never thought it was possible. It seemed like another planet to me. And so, anyway, after he said yes, I didn't dare say anything else. But, I don't know. I love geography. And Spain and Portugal are just a short plane ride across the water. Far be it from me to say anything to him. But he came to me a couple days later and he said, well, while we're there, we might as well go to Spain and Portugal. And I said, who are you and what have you done with my husband?
It's hilarious. It's like, "Hey, they're here, we might as well go," and it's so true. I'm planning a trip for my 40th birthday, which is next year, to go to South Korea, and I love Japan. I've been there once before, so I'm like, "Well, Japan is right there. I might as well just, like, stop for another 6 days, like, it's right there. Why not?"
Yeah, absolutely. As a travel writer, I hate to admit this, but I hate to fly.
Me
And
too.
oh, you do?
I'm a fearful flyer, so I am right there with you.
Well, if I'm going to fly 10 hours anywhere, I'm not going just for a few days. I'm going to make it worth my time. When I was first planning, I love road trips, and there's nothing like seeing a country from the car and having regular stops and having a vehicle and doing that. But the idea of driving all around Spain and all around Portugal, oh my God, we'd be there a year. So reason took over and we agreed that we would not drive. We would take trains because, there's trains all the time and public transportation is pretty good as far as that goes. And we also decided to use private transport, meaning like Day Trip is one that I've used a lot, daytrip.com. Um, we also used I don't want to mess up her name. Amalia Maloney Del Riego. And she owns a company called movetotraveling.com. And I found her on Trav Media. Are you familiar? Well, you know Trav Media.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, I'm on the
Yes.
platform. It's so useful
Oh
for
my
making
gosh.
connections, especially if you work in the industry as a travel writer or content creator. It's great. So, any listeners out
Yes.
there who are travel writers, videographers, photographers, you're in the industry, definitely sign up. Travmedia.com. It is awesome.
Yes, it's one of my best resources. So I met her through Trav Media, and she was invaluable. She made so many reservations. When I realized that we were going to be gone for 6 weeks, I thought I will be doing nothing but travel planning if I have to do this all myself with all the research and all of that. So I hired her, and frankly, it was the best investment I made in this trip because she lives in Spain. So she made suggestions of places to stay, the transfers, things I never would have known. I told her what I wanted to do. She took care of it and she was very thorough and followed up even when we were on the trip. This is something that every traveler should know. If you use a service like this, they are like a travel agent. They will help you even when you're on the trip. So, for example, I got sick. There was an event that we were supposed to do the following day, and I thought, "Oh, what am I going to do? I'm not well enough." So I thought, well, I'll just contact her. She took care of everything and got me a refund because I was just over the time frame of the cancellation
Mhm.
within 24 hours. She took care of that. It was seamless. So for your listeners, definitely consider using a travel service like that.
Yeah, especially for a trip that long. I
Yeah.
mean, like, it's so true. I remember at the time my 7-week trip, I was just like backpacking around and staying in hostels. So I was a little more carefree. I was like 27 years old, a little bit of a different time. But it's true for these longer trips, just having that resource, it would otherwise take forever to book everything. And then it's true when things go sideways and you may need a little bit of help, having that expert on the ground is just invaluable.
And it's really the first time I've used a service like this, and um, it was worth every penny.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I'm definitely like keeping a note of her name in my head the next time I go over to Spain
Yeah.
because I definitely want to go back. It's such a beautiful country for sure.
Oh, definitely. And she's got some tours also that she's going to be running. So worth checking out.
Ooh, stay tuned. Stay tuned. So, another aspect about like planning a trip this long, like we said, it's 6 weeks, it's like a month, is packing. So, you travel with just a rollerboard and a backpack. So, how did you make that work for this trip? And what packing tips can you share? Because I've just traveled for a decent bit of time with just a backpack or just a carry on. And my friends and family look at me like I'm crazy. They're like, how do you make this even work? So, any tips you have, we would love to hear them.
Okay. The reason we did each rollerboard and a backpack is because for the Morocco tour, we were strongly encouraged to keep our bags to a minimum. And we had talked about taking one checked bag and then each of our rollerboards and backpack. And I said, we can't do that. And I'm so glad that we did just do no checked bags because when you're moving from destination to destination, like one night here or maybe 2 nights, and you're carrying your own bags, you're glad not to be trying to manage a giant bag with everything else that you're carrying. So that was the impetus, but that was just for that trip. It was like 10 or 12 days. Anybody can live out of a rollerboard and a backpack. But we were gone for 6 weeks. So we had to really commit. So a couple of tricks, and I love this now. The laundry sheets, laundry soap comes in sheets. You don't have to carry a big bottle of laundry soap. Did you know that?
Yeah, I didn't. Sometimes I'll put like dryer sheets between my clothes just to keep them smelling like kind of fresh, and then I wash them in the sink.
Well, think of that dryer sheet as a piece of soap. It's dry and you put it in the sink and it melts and it gets sudsy. And so
How did I not know this? I could have used this for Japan. My mind is like blown right now.
I'm so glad because I took enough for 30 days. Of course, we didn't use them all, but you never know. And so we washed socks and undies every 2 or 3 days. Now we had 7 to 10 pair of underwear and about the same amount of socks. So we were never down to our last pair of underwear. And sometimes if there's an accident, you have to throw underwear away. And we each had to do that while
No,
on the trip. So they were beyond washing.
it's just like, bye. Welcome to your new home in Europe.
Yeah. But having that soap, it's it's actually quite liberating knowing that you don't have to look for a laundromat to wash a whole load of clothes. And one of the neat things is that in Europe and in Morocco, in the lodging, they have racks, heated racks, usually in the bathroom, where you can wash, and it's a towel rack to heat your towels. But OMG, you wash out your clothes, you wring them out really well, you hang them on these racks overnight, and they're dry. So I don't know if you've experienced that, but
I
that might
love those heated racks. They're
yeah,
lovely.
yeah. You might want to ask if you're booking hotel reservations. It might be an amenity that they mention or not. So that was one of the things that I loved. When I travel, I have 3 pair of pants, one to wear, one to wash, and one for spare. Because if you've washed pants and they're not dry and you put them in a big Ziploc bag, I always carry a couple of big, like bigger than gallon Ziplocs, like 2 gallon. If your clothes are not dry, you put them in there damp and zip it up, go to your next destination. As soon as you get to the hotel, you take them out, you hang them up so that even you can travel with wet clothes and
That
just
makes sense.
get them out and hang them up. When we went to Morocco and Spain, it was warmer in Morocco than it was in Spain. Silly me. I didn't realize how much warmer it was going to be in Morocco.
Mm.
At the last minute, I threw in a lightweight long sleeve shirt. I wish I'd put in 2 more because after 2 or 3 days with that one shirt, it had to be washed.
Yeah.
And so that was a little, well, it was okay, but
The same thing happened to me in Japan. I went in 2024 and I teach high school, so summer is when I can travel. So I went at the end of June because it was rainy season and not super, super hot yet, like August would be. But like the humidity, it was still enough with my clothes where I'm like, these have to be washed. And I was lucky enough that my hotel had a washing machine like on site. But the thing that like was kind of crazy, understandably, everyone else was in the same situation. So you would have to like wait for a machine and then just like run for it when it was open and throw your clothes in. So it is true with like the warmer weather, like you can pack light, but at some point it's like this is getting pretty gnarly. It needs to be
Yeah.
washed every other day, at least at minimum.
Yeah. So I guess the learning point here is take extra lighter clothes because you can layer them if you
Yes.
need to. But I really wished I would have had one or two more lighter clothes. And yeah, you can go shopping for new clothes when you're there, but when you're traveling with a full rollerboard and backpack, there isn't room to necessarily add more clothes, more things that you didn't plan on. Now, one of the other things that I do in Europe, I found more than not, and in Morocco, they don't use washcloths like we do here in the
Mhm.
States. So what I did, I packed 30 old washcloths that need to go in the trash bin here, but I packed them and I used one each day, so I didn't have to worry about washing it, packing it wet. I just used it and threw it away. And so the space that those 30 washcloths took, it began decreasing each day, and I would throw it away. So that space that was taken up with washcloths going over there allowed space for a few souvenirs to come back. So I packed going over, threw them away, and brought a few souvenirs.
That's a smart way to go about it. You don't even want to know some of the crazy stuff I've done to try to bring souvenirs back, like sitting on my suitcase, expanding it, rolling a duffel bag in my suitcase, and then taking the duffel bag out and then checking my carry on bag. I've done some like crazy stuff to bring a bunch of things back to the US. And then I look at my credit card and it's sad, but the memories are worth it.
Yeah, you can always work that off.
Exactly. Exactly. I like that mindset.
So it seemed there was one other trick, but I forgot to write it down and I can't remember it now.
It's all good. Out of curiosity, Julie, do you use packing cubes at all? Like it's something like I've used sometimes, but I feel like I should be doing it more.
Yes, definitely. I use cubes to keep things organized. And if for some reason you're in the airport and you have to repack, I make sure that I don't have to do that anymore. But I had to do it one time early in my traveling career. And it can get kind of embarrassing when you're pulling out all these clothes and they're all askew and you're trying to condense or whatever. I always definitely use packing cubes. It keeps things organized. And then I have a cube that has a plastic interior. So it's two-sided and the dirty clothes go on the plastic, the one with plastic side, and the clean one. So they're separated. So definitely. I don't use those compression techniques. I have a couple of bags that you can zip and make them compressed. That just makes things heavier because it's denser and you can get more stuff in. And the idea, I think, is to travel lighter and wash more if you're going to do that rather than pack more and try to pack it in because it just gets heavier. That's what I found.
Yeah, and that's like something I definitely need to get better with. I used to be really good in my 20s about like packing lighter because I would just travel with a backpack. Whereas nowadays, I end up bringing so much stuff with me and it ends up getting a little disorganized as well. Like when I have to pack and repack to change hotels or get on a train, like just like the chaos of getting my suitcase back to the way it was and then like sitting on it to get it to close. It's like a whole mess. So I do feel like just having the cubes for organizational purposes would really, really help me because I don't know what happened to me. I used to be really good at the packing and the repacking and traveling light, and those skills just kind of went out the window after I turned like 35. I don't know what happened.
All the things that we can't live without. Remember what I was going to say now. My rule for this trip also was no jewelry,
Mm.
no makeup.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. And so there was one other thing that didn't, that I said, no, I don't need it. Who cares what I look like? Nobody's going to remember me except all those pictures without me, without any makeup.
Except me when I pull the pictures up on my phone.
But I didn't have to worry about getting robbed or losing stuff, jewelry, and it allowed me to buy one little piece of jewelry to bring back. So, but I didn't have to worry about locking stuff up. No computer. I didn't take my computer either.
I love this. I love
I did
this.
not, I intentionally did not, well, I did work, but yeah, well, I realized that my phone is going to be my communication, and I did bring just a little
I love
book.
that. That's such a pretty journal.
And whoops, you can't even see this, but I filled up every page
Well, that's amazing.
with notes, and except the last 3 days. So here are some empty pages, but I was gone 6 weeks, and I allowed a page for each day. And I just made little jotted notes so that just mind ticklers. So my photos and my little journal is all I took in the way of work tools. So no jewelry, no makeup, no computer. I tried to make this a vacation by not committing to writing articles about everything that I did on the trip. I did come home with 3 assignments though. So,
It's awesome.
yeah.
That's really, really awesome. But yeah, it's so true. I know when I used to be more active in the travel blogging space, I would bring my laptop with me and I would always be tempted to write blog posts all the time, edit pictures. And I really tried to limit it to when I was on the train. But even like that, like the train rides, you want to be looking out the window, you want to be reflecting on your trip, writing in a journal. I really wish on some of my past trips that I brought a journal with me and wrote some of those memories down because I feel like they are so invaluable. So, listeners, instead of wasting space in your luggage for makeup, don't be like me and bring 50 million things of skincare that you're going to have to organize in that one little pouch of liquids. That's very frustrating. Maybe make some space for a journal because it is true. Like, and when you write things down, you just remember them better. And all those little moments that you may forget, like later, they're immortalized on the page. I love that. Yeah, that's really, really awesome. So let's talk about airports, which are not my favorite places because I'm scared to fly. Anyone who listens to this podcast knows I'm a very nervous flyer. I've gotten like better with time, but still it can be kind of like chaotic every time I walk through the doors of Newark Liberty. But can you walk us through your own experience navigating airports while managing handicaps? What challenges did you face? And like what helps you, whether it's at the airport or in flight? Because I know you mentioned you don't like flying too much either.
Yeah. Well, I have to sit over the wing
Me too.
because yeah, because that's the smoothest part,
Yep.
smoothest ride in the plane.
Yep, yep. I am on with the United app. I am on it exactly 24 hours beforehand because I'm like, they let me pick my free economy plus then it needs to be near the wing. And I'm on there like right as it opens where I can pick it. I'm like insane about it because I need to be over the wing because it
Yeah.
is the smoothest ride.
Yes, it is. And I used to get airsick. I don't anymore, but I have to look out the window.
I used to be
I
like this too.
Yeah, I've got to have the window seat over the wing. And my husband, he can sit anywhere. He prefers an aisle seat. And so when I book our flight, I always get the window, and I generally book the aisle seat for him. But, on the full flights, he usually ends up moving to the middle seat because he can do that. And I will freak out if I have to sit
To
anywhere
me,
else.
with a middle seat, so I used to be that way too with the window seat thing. It is so valid. I used to have to look out the window at all times because I felt like if I could see the wing barely moving during turbulence, that it really wasn't that bad. And then what happened was I would get anxious about the turbulence, and then TMI listeners have to pee a million times, and then my poor seatmate would get sick of letting me up to pee. So I've gotten to the point where now I can book an aisle seat and I have access to the restroom wherever I want. It's a
Yeah.
miracle I did that 13+ hour flight to Tokyo
Oh
in
my
one piece
gosh.
back and forth. It really is like a miraculous thing.
Well, that's so funny. Well, my husband said when we went to China, I think that was a 15-hour flight. He said,
Mhm.
I'm never doing that again. I'm never flying, blah, blah, blah. Well, we spent, well, it wasn't a 15-hour flight. We live in near Phoenix. And so we flew from Phoenix to Charlotte, North Carolina, and then Charlotte to Madrid. And so we made that our hub for this whole trip. But what I've done in the last couple years, I have balance issues now. And so I use a cane, and I have requested a wheelchair when I make my plane reservations. And typically that works pretty good. We get to board early, and that's about the only advantage. It has good and bad aspects. But my husband had to run alongside me in the airports, and European airports and Moroccan, they are, and I found out this after the whole trip. It's a nightmare. We're in America, we're used to going to the airport, going to the terminal, going to the gate, getting checked in, we go down the walkway and we ease right into the airplane. It's not like that in Europe and Morocco. What I learned is that the jetways are very, very expensive, like millions of dollars to put in so you can do what we are accustomed to here in America. So in Europe, you're in the terminal, you go to the gate, you sign in, and then you walk down what we would think would be the jetway, but it's just a hallway that goes to doors that open to the tarmac, and you have to get on a bus and ride all like miles to get to the airplane.
Frankfurt, I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you, Frankfurt. I've been through there twice. Both times I was greeted by the bus.
Yeah. And then you have to climb up the stairs. And they always ask me, can you do stairs? Well, it's a good thing I said yes, because God only knows what that nightmare would have been. But there were a couple of times that the attendant that was pushing my wheelchair wasn't paying attention, and she ran into a lady that was not paying attention to where she was walking. And before I could say anything, she ran into her. And I'm thinking, what's wrong with you? And
Scary.
it was scary. The group that I was with, the attendant that was supposed to be taking care of me, we got to the door and they disappeared, and I had to get on the bus myself and get off. My husband had to take the rollerboards. It was
Mm.
chaos. And of course, so this is another time my husband says, I'm never going to Europe again.
It's hard. Like I find when there's like a lot of stress happening at the airport, and as a fearful flyer, it just makes it like a million times worse. Like I remember I did a flight to Madrid, and to save money, I had a connecting flight in Brussels, and there was a major delay in Newark. So I had forgotten that the layover time I had to go through border control, and there was a long line. I had to get through that, and I was running through Brussels airport, and it's like it's a big airport, and I got to the plane like right in time before the doors closed, and I was like, I will pay an extra $200, $300 if it means I do not have to make a connection like this again. Like if I have no other choice, I'll do it, but if I can fly direct to a city, I will do that. Like never again. It was so crazy, and that was like I don't know if it was Newark Airport's fault or United's fault, but there was a delay, and it just kind of like impacted everything.
Yeah. And then speaking of delays, I deliberately allowed, I got on flights, I said we connected through Charlotte. I made sure there was at least 2 or 3 hour
Mhm.
layover because I could, pick the flight. I made sure there was plenty of time in case a flight got delayed. I am not going to be running through an airport
No
and
way.
doing that. In Charlotte, if you ever get to fly through there, they have like booths that you can rent by the hour. so you can go in and get sleep and there's showers and stuff. I was hoping to do that, but there wasn't time coming back from
Sounds so
Madrid.
nice. I'm always tempted to use the showers in the United Lounge because they do sound really nice. I know they have them, I've never used them, but I always think, "Oh, if you had, like, a connection here after, like, a long flight, that has to be nice to freshen up," because I do feel, like, gross after a
I
long
know.
flight. Like, I feel like
Yeah.
I have to, like, jump in a bubble bath or something.
Yeah, and particularly if you're flying in economy. So
Mm.
I have not, I think I flew business class once in my life. And, it's not financially feasible all the time to splurge like that.
I know. United upgraded me to a lie flat one time, and it was actually to go out to Phoenix. They changed the plane for a 757, and I got upgraded with silver status, and it was like the lie flat. And I fell asleep. It was so comfortable, and I was just like, why did you do this? I didn't know what I was missing before. Now I do. And every time I walk by them, I like think I need to hit the lottery or something because this is just painful. Yeah, the journey to get there is always like crazy, but travel, as we know, it's always worth it. So looking back, what were some of the highlights of this amazing 6-week trip that you took?
Okay, the highlights were seeing iconic sites that I'd heard about, dreamed about, looked at pictures. The Sahara Desert has to be the top thing on my
I wanna
memory
go
list.
so badly. I wanna go so
Oh, yeah.
badly.
And riding a camel in the Sahara Desert. Now, I will say that we were told the camel ride would be about an hour. And then they said, well, it'll be about an hour and a half. 3 hours later, we got to the oasis and most everybody was pretty saddle sore. The first
I was
hour
gonna
was
say, I hear
okay.
it hurts your butt.
Well, I have a series of articles that I've written over the last year and a half about dude ranches in the American West. And when you go to a dude ranch, you ride horses. So I'm used to riding horses and I've been working out. So sitting on a camel saddle was nothing to me. It was actually wider and more comfortable than a horse saddle. But the first hour was fine. The second hour, it got a little monotonous. The third hour, okay, I'm ready to be there. And they
Get off this cab.
and it's kind of a rocking motion, not a galloping one. And we walked. What was so amazing is that our guides, they walked the camels all the way the 3 miles, 3 or 4 miles. I don't remember now, but all they had on was sandals, like leather sandals. And I'm going, I'd be decked out in my hiking boots if I had to walk. They were in their sandals and they walked those camels all the way. And I kept looking for the oasis, you see a mirage, you hear about the mirage in the desert. And I'm looking around, I'm not seeing anything like even a mirage, an oasis. But we made it there. That was the highlight for me. And the light as the sun is setting. As you know, I'm a photographer and I was photographing some of the other people on our tour and the light was exquisite. It's just unbelievable. So that was a highlight.
Well, that sounds amazing. Like, I am so ready to book a flight to Morocco. It sounds incredible.
It's not, people are the same all over the world. We have the same goals, the same different customs, of course, but we're all alike in our desires, like the cooking class that I took in Casablanca. And I highly recommend this. I'll talk more about it in a minute, but there was also the argan oil. If you heard of argan oil,
Yes, yes.
and we went through the whole process of extracting it from the seeds. And that the woman that established this workshop and the whole program, she's just like a business person in America. She wants to serve people and tell people about her customs and the process. She set up her business just like we would do it here in America. And that was a highlight of seeing people that really are just like us. They speak a different language, they wear different clothes, but we have so much in common. Some of the other highlights were seeing La Sagrada Familia in Barcelona.
My gosh, I cried. I cried when I went in there. It is
It's yeah.
so beautiful.
And did you go at the end of the day or where when the light was coming in?
I went it was, like, the early morning light. I went in at, like, 9 a.m. and, like, it was very, like, soft light, and it was just spilling through the stained glass, and that's when I started crying, and this was, like, right after COVID. I think it was 2022, so it was finally a chance to get out and travel. I taught all through COVID, so I was burnt out. I really needed this trip. And when I got there, all I hear is this tour guide talking to her tour group and being like, "Oh, do you like it?" And I heard that and I was like, "I do like it." I started to just cry. This tour guide doesn't look and turn around and be like, "Who is this woman eavesdropping and crying?"
It is a very moving experience. I went in the late afternoon and the sunlight was just streaming in. It's just like you could swim through the light. It was amazing. Some of the other highlights were cork trekking
Ooh,
in
what is
Lisbon.
this?
Yeah, outside of Lisbon, I don't know if you know how cork is made, but there are oak trees that have cork outer shell. And so anyway, that's harvested. We learned how to do that. The Medinas in Morocco are incredible. You're moving with humanity, but nobody touches.
Oh, interesting.
Some thinks I don't know of a vehicle. There are motorcycles, scooters, carts, donkey carts, everything. This mass of humanity and pedestrians going through the Medina, and somebody either bumped into me or I had to jump out of the way for one of these motor scooters, and another pedestrian was right there, and he reached out to catch me. He didn't touch me. I didn't fall. I didn't touch him, but it was just so cool that it's like everybody is in their own space in this sea of humanity. It was, it was,
It's really cool. Organized chaos for sure.
yeah, yeah. And the first day I was kind of terrified going through there. But after you've done the Medina once, you can navigate it pretty well in subsequent experiences. When we went to Casablanca, we went to Rick's Cafe. Have you seen the movie, the old movie?
Yes, I
Okay.
have. I watched it during COVID actually, and I needed like movies to watch. And I'm like, let me look up the top 100 movies. And I remember watching it on my laptop at my parents' house.
Well, Casablanca was not made in Casablanca. It was made in a movie studio. But I had to watch it before we went. And Rick's Cafe is a tourist attraction. So if you ever go to Casablanca, you must eat at Rick's Cafe. It's just like in the movie, but it's just a restaurant. You can say you've been there. It's a
I'm gonna
tourist
go.
thing.
That'd be
Yeah.
so
So
fun.
go to
Just
Rick's
the
Cafe.
vibes seem like fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And they say that the dress, it's not formal, but it's like business casual. They let you in no matter what you wear. There was a guy with a sleeveless tank top and shorts and tattoos and stuff. So and there were more people that were dressed casually. So it's a misnomer about you have to dress up to go there. One of the other sites that we went was Montserrat and Girona.
So pretty.
So you've been there?
So pretty. Montserrat took my breath away. And
Yes.
Girona, I wish I had more time. I wish I would have spent the night. Like it was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So much, we just went on a 1 hour walking tour and a 1 hour walking tour in Montserrat. It wasn't enough. Oh, but we also went down to the beach. So it was a full day, way too long. It was a 12-hour, and I'll talk more about this in the oopsies. But, so that was a highlight, and the culture that was so different from our own in Morocco. That was impressive. That was a highlight. And all of the interesting food that we ate was
I
was
really want to hear about the food. I know it
okay.
was a central part of this trip, and I am like so ready to hear everything about what I should eat when I go to Morocco and when I go back to Spain and Portugal, because I know that's going to happen too. I'm just going
Oh
to go
yes.
everywhere. It's happening. It's happening. I've given up on the idea of like, oh, like save your stipend. So I'm like, no.
Do it when you're young, because I'm probably older than a lot of your viewers and listeners, but this applies to whenever you travel. Travel when you're young when you can, because my husband and I are in the last quarter of our lives. And that's why I made this 6-week trip, because I will probably never get there again. There are so many other places, and I've traveled a lot in my life, but the more I travel, the more I want to travel.
Yeah, it's
So
really true.
so what I found is after a few days that food became the focal point of my trip. I wanted to see what new food I could eat, and I love the European bread.
Oh, it's
Bread
so
and butter.
good.
I can eat
Yes.
bread and butter with wine, with hot chocolate, or with a creamy coffee.
That
Every
sounds
meal.
so good. The perfect breakfast.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So I had a hard time passing up the bread and butter.
Love it, love it. That was me in France, like a baguette and butter every meal, multiple times
Yes,
a day.
yes, yeah, I know. Moroccans spend a large part of their day preparing food. They use fresh fruits and vegetables in season. And the cooking class that I took, okay, I have to plug travelingspoon.com. They've been around for a while, and I've used them a couple of times. They arrange for hosts to bring you into their home. You either go to the market. So, what we did in Casablanca, we went to the market, we shopped for our meal, and I was surprised. I didn't realize how lush and productive Morocco is for fruits and vegetables. They were gorgeous. The market we went into, all the colorful bananas. I didn't realize they grew bananas in Morocco. Fresh. And we were told, don't eat fruit that you haven't peeled or whatever. I had no problem at all with any of the fruits and vegetables. Fresh fruits, they have everywhere you go, fresh squeezed orange juice.
That sounds heavenly.
It was heavenly, and it was sweeter than I've had since I got back, because one of the things that I did is the first thing I did when I got home, I bought a bag of oranges and squeezed them. These were not as sweet as what I had in Morocco.
Not the same. It's always so hard coming back to the US. Like, I live in New Jersey, so we have really good Italian American food here, and it's a little
Yes.
different, of course. But the first trip to Italy coming back, my family and I, we had a hard time getting readjusted to the Italian American food because we're like, we miss the food over there. And then I'm fortunate enough to live in an area that has very like diverse restaurants. I could get practically any type of food I want. But when I came back from Japan, the sushi, it just was not hitting like the spot when I came back. I'm like, I missed the sushi in Japan. It was just different. So it's hard. And then the Greek yogurt over in Greece, I still cannot eat my Wegmans yogurt. And I used to eat yogurt all the time. And I just want yogurt from Athens.
I guess I'm going to have to get there.
Yes, yes.
The Moroccan tea service. So if you go to Morocco, you will be treated to tea. You end every meal with this tea, and it's a mint tea. It's green tea with fresh mint leaves, and it's very hot. They pour it, and they don't just pour it in the glass. They pour it from 2 feet above, and it's a ceremony, and it's wonderful. So I got a teapot when I came home. I got a teapot because I bought the Moroccan tea there. That's one of the things I haven't broken out yet, but I'm going to do the tea ceremony.
Yes. I love that.
So anyway, the cooking class, we shopped at the market, we went to the bakery and got that. And then working in the kitchen, and part of the experience that is really promoted is learning how to cook. Sometimes it's just a demonstration, but when I was in Morocco, she taught me how to cook the chicken tagine. And
Yeah.
and lighting the grill and washing the vegetables and the chicken. And she had the sharpest knives. They were incredibly sharp, and you can do so much with that. So
Yeah, for
we
sure.
spent, a couple of hours cooking and then eating it. And her son came home from school. She had a live-in helper, and she was also a photographer, so we had a lot in common. And her assistant was there working also. And th- the assistant, she arranged for her assistant to drive us back to the hotel, so we didn't have to get our own transportation. We were so well cared for. So travelingspoon.com.
I'm gonna remember that name, and I'm gonna put it in the show notes as well, because
Good.
that sounds like something I would love, especially as a solo traveler, because I love to learn how to cook and connect with people, and it just sounds like a beautiful experience to have.
Yes, yes. Now there's also we went on had something else about the it comes later in the program. I want to talk about the rapid fire questions. So, yeah.
Yes, I'm excited for those rapid fire questions. They're
Yeah.
gonna be so fun.
So, do you want to talk about traveling during the shoulder season?
Now, I am unlucky because I'm in education, so I don't have the pleasure, and sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, I get very jealous of people who can have low fares and cooler weather, but I sort of, like, make do. So, shoulder season, I know it can be kind of broad, so is this, like, in the spring or the fall? Like, what months were they that you
Okay,
went?
I traveled in late October, November, and December.
Oh, nice.
I think everybody promotes travel during the shoulder season.
Yeah.
There were so many travelers in November and
Mm,
December when we were in Spain. For example, we went to the Alhambra in Granada, Spain. They allow only 8,000 people per day.
yeah, I remember we had to reserve so far in advance, and I made sure I got those tickets immediately, and this was over my spring break, so I wanted to be really on it.
Yeah. Well, in November, 8,000 people in a day, there wasn't time to even bring my head up to look around much. The walkway is uneven and people photobombing. I think it's a misnomer these days to travel during the off season because I don't think there is anymore.
I
So
don't think
don't be
there is.
jealous.
My God, this just made my night. This just made my night because this is a hot take. And sorry, listeners, for the rant, but there's sometimes where I'm like planning a trip on social media and I'll mention it and I'll say, like, I'm going in July or August because it's when I could travel, or the end of June. And so many people are like, it's too hot, it's too crowded. And when I was planning my trip to Japan, I'm not going to lie, someone online, when I asked for advice, said that I should wait till I retire to travel to Japan because traveling in the summer was just that unpleasant. And I'm like, I want to travel now. Like, I'll sweat. And it was a beautiful trip. I had an amazing time. But it sometimes is so discouraging to hear that. And I kind of agree that I don't think shoulder season is as much of a thing anymore because literally everybody is promoting it. And
Yes.
so they're shocked then when it's crowded. And it's like, well, this has been promoted like since COVID, it definitely picked up for a couple years now.
Yeah, yeah. I pitched an article about traveling during the shoulder season is not what it's cracked up to be anymore. Familia, La Sagrada Familia. Oh my gosh, you've got to get an entry time, an entry ticket, and by God, you better be there. There's all these people in the picture. I don't like people in my pictures.
Use
I want
AI
to
now to
hear.
edit them out. Be like, bye, bye. But then
Yeah,
it messes with your background. Like sometimes AI has put some weird things in my background, and I'm like, I don't want
yeah.
that in there. Remove that too.
And I'm thinking, well, people won't notice that. But as a travel writer, people in pictures is a fact of life. And if
Yes.
I'm being honest, you've got to know that all these people are going to be there and you've got to deal with it. So again, go early in the day or late in the afternoon. And frankly, I'm not going to go anywhere late in the afternoon. I don't want to be pressed at the end to hurry up and get through a destination
I
because
agree.
they're going to close. So for me, it's going to be early in the morning if I can do it.
Yeah, we did that with the Acropolis in Athens. We booked, I think it was an 8 a.m. guided tour. So it was like the first one. And this was end of June. And it's a very like dry heat in Athens. So it was early and the heat really didn't bother me because there was a really nice breeze going up there. Kept blowing my hat off, but it was a nice breeze. It, wasn't too bad. And when we left, we could see how it was starting to get crowded, but we really like weren't overheated. We weren't exhausted, but going early in the morning was definitely the way to go for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to remember that too, because, as I'm talking to you, I'm thinking I'm worthless by the end of the day if I've toured or done anything like that.
Yeah, but
Okay.
I feel really good that I don't have to be jealous anymore. I can let
Yeah.
all
Don't.
that go. I can be like, I could take my summer trips in peace and not feel bad,
Yeah.
even if I'm a little like sweaty.
Yeah.
So Julie, I'm excited for these rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Yes, all right. So you are in the hot seat. So one meal from the trip that you wish you could eat again right now, right this second.
I would like the Basque style tapas buffet.
I've been wanting to go to Basque Country so badly. Newark has direct flights to San Sebastian now, and I'm ready to like hop on them
Oh my
immediately.
gosh. Well, we did this in Barcelona. And actually, I want to plug eatingeurope.com because they have a walking tour, wine, what is it? A wine and food and wine tours. They're walking tours, and you have a guide who explains the history tapas bar. And of course, we had a beverage at each place too, but it's a bar with all these single little plates, and it's like going in a candy store. Pick what looks good. It has a toothpick in it, and you bring that to your table. And they also drink vermouth with an orange peel, a mint leaf, and an anchovy stuffed olive. And it's like an aperitif, and they drink that. They start drinking vermouth around 11 o'clock or just before lunch, and they gossip a little bit, and they drink their vermouth, and
Love
then
it.
they
I'm a
drink
huge
the
gossip.
tapas.
Toxic trait of mine. I love to gossip and like hear like what all the drama is. So this would be perfect
Yeah.
scene for me.
And drinking early in the day, I'm all for that.
Sure,
And
sure.
it was
Let's do it.
delicious. And so at the end of that, the establishment, the waiter counts the number of toothpicks on your plate to know how many tapas you ate, and they charge you for that. That's how they charge. So that's what I would do in a heartbeat. I'd
I
love to
need to
do that
go
again.
back to Barcelona. They had just like such phenomenal restaurants, and I miss Barcelona desperately. I was there for my spring break. It was about maybe 8 days, and I feel like I just need to go back and do a deep dive because it is just such a fun city. So I
Yes.
love this question because this is like the story of my life with my travels. What was the biggest oops moment while traveling?
Okay. The biggest oops moment was my error in booking an overnight in Fez. So from Casablanca to Fez is a 4-hour train ride. Silly me, I only booked one night there. We got there, like sometime in the afternoon. We got to our lodging. They made dinner for us there in the Riyadh, and then the next morning we had time to do a walking tour of the Medina, which we did, and then we had to get back on the train back to Casablanca because there wasn't a flight from Fez back to Malaga, Spain. So we had to go back to Casablanca, another 4-hour train ride. And so that was the biggest oops, but it turned out to be the best experience with humanity that I've had. So we get on the train, and this Chinese couple actually spoke English, but other people got in the car. There were 6 of us in the train car. A Moroccan woman sat in the seat across. We kind of made eye contact, but it was a strange country. We weren't friendly or anything. And then male traveler got in the car, and he said she was in his seat, and it ended up being a big brouhaha. He brought the conductor in, and she had her ticket. She was definite about that was her seat, and you know what's going on even though you're not speaking the language. She looked at me, I looked at her, I went like that. She went like that. She ended up keeping her seat. The guy sat in the seat next to me. Finally, he got off at another stop. And I knew that the Casablanca train station was coming up. And so we were getting ready, our bags and everything. And I put my bag on the table, and I looked at her, and it was kind of blocking her view. And I said, let me take this off. So I took it off, and she said, no, no, she made me put it back on, like she was telling me it was okay. And then she could see we were getting ready to go, and they don't call it Casablanca train station. They called it whatever it is in in Arabic. And she looked at me. We were getting ready to, I knew the train station was coming up, and I looked at her and I said the Casablanca, and she didn't know. And then I said it in Arabic and she said, yes, she repeated it. She got me off the seat. She got my bag. She pushed it out into the hallway. And then the guy in front of me said, would you like me to take that off the train for you? And I looked at him. I said,
Aw,
yes.
that's
He
so
got that
sweet.
off the train and I was trying to get off the train because it's a very short time. The train's in the station. I was trying to climb down. Gordon, my husband, was behind me. A guy on the platform stuck his arm out to help me. I got off the train and then we were looking for the next train to get. A stranger then told us how to, take the walkway over. 4 people in about 10 minutes that helped me out of this oops. And
Aw.
I would not have experienced all of this genuine concern from all these other people, all these other travelers that were not American. It was, and you don't have to speak the language.
Yeah.
They
It's
helped. So that big oops was one of the best things about the trip.
It's so true. Like I've had like different like snafus on public transportation, like as a solo traveler. And I always like to say when I travel, like 99.9% of the world is like good and kind and compassionate and gentle because I know when I've been in situations, whether it's been a canceled train or being like lost in a train station, every single time someone has stepped in to help me, they've noticed, they've cared. And it does like remind you that there's some like good in humanity. Cause I think like it's easy to go on the internet and social media and just see all these horrible things like day in and day out. And then when you go and you travel and you experience kindness, it reminds you that no, most people are good and they want to help. And we are definitely more alike than we are different. I think it's such an important thing to be reminded of when you travel.
Yes.
It's so true. That's like a beautiful experience. So, last one. What is one must have item that you can never leave home without?
My pashmina.
That's so true. So true. Definitely need it for those churches in Italy. I'm glad I didn't forget it in Venice. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's not only that, I've used it for, around, I usually wear it around my neck. So I got it when I was in Rome. I got several. One is purple and purple is my favorite color. So it always goes with me and you wear it around. It's very warm when wrap it around and tie it here around the shoulders for churches. And, when it's cold and you want a little warmth, you can use it as a pillow. I've even used it as shade. It was like 100 degrees. I was outside. It was hot. There was no shade. So I pulled it over my head and held it out to give myself shade. So that is probably the wildest use for it, maybe. But if you had to, if someone fell in the water, you could throw it and they could hold on to it and you could pull them in.
Life-saving device. It's a
Life
versatile
saving device.
item. Versatile item. You could use it for everything. So don't leave
Yeah.
home without it. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Julie, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. Do you have any last pieces of advice that you'd like to give our listeners before we close out?
Don't hesitate to travel. Travel when you're young and healthy. If you think you can't afford it, there are ways to save and travel. You will regret not visiting places on your bucket list.
Yeah, that's true. I always tell myself the money will come back. I look at the
It
credit
will.
card and I'm like, the money will come back.
It will.
This too will pass, but I have not regretted a single penny I spent on my trips. And I'm like, that balance will come down eventually. It's fine. It's fine. The experiences are always worth it. And that's a wrap on today's episode of Bon Voyage Besties. We hope you love this conversation as much as we did. I know I definitely need to go to Morocco now and back to Barcelona, of course. A huge thank you to our amazing guest, Julie, for sharing her wisdom, stories, and unforgettable experiences from her 6 week journey through Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. From traveling tips to meaningful moments, and of course, incredible food that I just want to like eat right now. I wish I could teleport all that food here to my apartment. This episode was packed with inspiration for your next adventure. So if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share with your fellow travel besties. Until till next time, keep exploring, keep wandering, and remember the money will come back, like we always say. So book the trip and book it now because it's worth it. Till next time, bon voyage, besties. We'll see you in the next one.
Thanks, Rachel.